Hey guys, it's Rob here and welcome back to another video. So in this video, I want to talk about the future of the Nintendo Switch. And of course, the Nintendo Switch 2. When it comes to the future of just Nintendo overall, I think it's very exciting. I mean, just think about it. We have a whole bunch of new games that are going to be coming to the platform other than the ones that we already have, like Metroid Prime 4, and then there's Pokemon Legends ZA. Those games I am very excited for, but I'm more curious on the future of the Nintendo Switch. At the beginning of the Nintendo Switch, we didn't really know what was going on. We didn't know what games were going to come, and it was very exciting. I mean, we got Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Odyssey, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, all of these big games. And these games were really exciting. There were times where we had Nintendo Directs and like the stealth drop for Metroid Prime Remaster, or the drop on Twitter for Paper Mario and the Origami King. Even if I didn't enjoy that, it was a pretty crazy moment. And all of these moments make me think, well, what are we gonna have during the Nintendo Switch 2 lifetime, especially with the bigger power, right? What kind of remakes, what kind of different games are we gonna play, what new IPs are going to appear, and more importantly, or I guess it depends on who you're talking to, but really important thing, third-party games too. And the first thing I want to talk about is what are they going to do with the Legend of Zelda? And after that, we'll get to Mario and even third-party games, and overall what I think they can do, even like new IP ideas, or bring back old IPs too. So the Legend of Zelda is a pretty interesting one, because if I remember correctly, they did say they were done with the Breath of the Wild world, right? At least when it comes to specifically those type of games, the open world games. We do still have that spin-off from Age of Calamity, the second game in that series for that world of The Legend of Zelda. But when talking about the future of the Nintendo Switch, obviously that means also the future of The Legend of Zelda, and there are a couple ways I think Nintendo will go about this. First thing I think Nintendo's going to be doing is still doing remakes and remasters, but I really do hope they go even bigger and better than what was done on the Nintendo Switch 2 with the extra horsepower. So like the rumor of Ocarina of Time remake, I hope that actually is true and they go all out. If you guys remember when the Nintendo Wii U dropped that test footage, or not test footage, it was a tech demo of a Legend of Zelda game. And I think whenever someone thinks of a remake, especially when it comes to like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, or even Twilight Princess, I think a lot of people do point towards that. And just the look of that tech demo, that is probably now possible on the Nintendo Switch 2, and it would look fantastic. But yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see what the future of the Legend of Zelda series is. Now, moving on to the next one, Super Mario. Now, there are a couple things that they can do there. Obviously, they can do Mario Odyssey 2. I think that's one thing that a lot of people want. Mario Odyssey is a pretty interesting one, in where it's one of those games that almost everyone likes and they would love to see a sequel. But another one that a lot of people do bring up is Super Mario Galaxy. And then of course, that's the 3D Marios. Then you gotta wonder, well, are they still gonna be doing 2D Marios, side-scrolling ones? And the big question here is, which one are they gonna do first? Are they gonna do a 3D Mario first, or are they gonna do a new 2D Mario? Personally, I think Nintendo's probably gonna go with a 3D Mario, because that would just be the smartest way to get more people on the Nintendo Switch 2, especially if it does stuff specific to the Nintendo Switch 2. Let me know in the comment section below, which one would you guys like? A whole new 3D Mario that's completely separate from Mario Odyssey, or even Mario Sunshine, or Super Mario Galaxy? Or would you want another sequel in one of those three? Next up, when talking about the future of Mario, obviously that also means other games that we saw new games on the Nintendo Switch 2 in remakes and remasters. One of them is 1,000 Year Door. I think that's also going to come for the future of the Nintendo Switch. I think they're going to do another Paper Mario, and it's probably going to go back to how they used to be. Or at least that's what the fan inside of me is saying. But the future of that aspect, Paper Mario on the Nintendo Switch 2, that is also very exciting. It's entirely a possibility. And not only that, but an RPG Mario. Now, speaking of RPG Marios, we did get that remake, but when I'm talking about Mario, or even any other type of game like The Legend of Zelda, or Donkey Kong, or any other IPs, Star Fox, which we'll get to. Another thing I would like to happen is to get more games like the Mario Rabbids games. Not specifically from Ubisoft, but we know that the Nintendo Switch 2 is getting a lot of third-party support, right? So that means there are a lot of devs that are in that platform's ecosystem. So what I would absolutely love is to have different developers make their own games with the Mario characters in it. Mario Rabbids turned out really fantastic. So if we can get other companies to make games for the Nintendo Switch 2 with Mario characters and have really cool ideas and unique ideas with these characters, I think that would be pretty cool. Now, the fact that we already have Donkey Kong Bonanza, I think we don't really have to talk about that too much just yet, unless there's another reason to. But another thing I want to talk about is Super Smash Bros. That's another thing. I think there's a big question here. Are we even going to get a Super Smash Bros. Game? Super Smash Bros. Ultimate was already released on the original Nintendo Switch, so if I had to guess, I think we will end up getting a new Super Smash Bros. Eventually, unless they're going to be Super Smash Bros. Ultimate with all the DLC in one pack, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Pack, or whatever they're gonna call it. But personally, I'm leaning more towards a new Super Smash Bros., especially with the power that we're gonna have, and I hope hope they actually have some kind of story mode. I really loved seeing all the characters interact with each other. That was a really cool thing, and I kind of do miss it. And then of course you gotta talk about like Splatoon 4. Of course I think they're gonna make that, especially with the mouse. Splatoon is very much a very popular game and a very popular series, so I don't see why we wouldn't get Splatoon 4. So that's also very exciting for the future of the Nintendo Switch. And next up, I do want to talk about another series that we haven't seen for a very long time, and that's why I think that's also going to be part of the Nintendo Switch's future, and that is Star Fox. So Star Fox is a pretty interesting one. Right now there is a rumor for a port for Star Fox Zero, but aside from that, I really would like to see a new game, and honestly I would like them to go crazy with it. With the Nintendo Switch 2 power, they can do more. They could even have like space travel, different planets. I would love for them to try to have a mix of classic Star Fox, but also something like Star Fox Adventure where you can actually get off the planet and do things. I just feel that would be really cool. I don't know how you Star Fox fans would feel about that, but a mixture between classic Star Fox and Star Fox Adventures I think would be really cool. And have like the combat be pretty cool too. I think something like Platinum Games type combat would be cool. But yeah, the future of Star Fox on the Nintendo Switch, I think that's definitely going to be part of the future, because we really haven't seen a new game in the series in a very long time, and we know that the Switch 2 is probably going to last for quite a long time. So what are they going to go without a Star Fox for that long? I don't think so. I hope that quote doesn't age really poorly and we don't get another Star Fox for like 10 years. Now, next up, when it comes to the future of the Nintendo Switch, obviously that includes the Nintendo Switch Online service, and there are a couple things I do want to see added to the future of the Nintendo Switch 2. One, I want themes on the Switch 2. Considering that we have more power on the Switch 2, I think that's definitely going to be a possibility and part of the future. But also, when talking about the Nintendo Switch Online service, that also means the Virtual Console. And there are a couple of things that I would love to see added, like Mario Paint on the Nintendo Switch Online service would be really cool since we could use the mouse. That would be amazing. But other things that would be really cool is maybe adding Nintendo DS games. I really don't know how you would make that work, but that would be pretty cool, because there are some games on the Nintendo DS and 3DS that I think would fit well on the Switch. Even when it comes to like ports and remasters, like Kid Icarus Uprising, I think that would be pretty cool, whether that be a port or a remaster or a remake or whatever they're going to be doing that, or even a sequel. Sequel would be cool, but that would also be cool. And speaking of the future of ports, remasters, sequels, I think The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess and also The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD is going to hit the Nintendo Switch 2. I don't see why not. Nintendo themselves said that's also on the table, even if they exist on the Nintendo Switch Online service, and they wouldn't say that unless they do have that planned. Like, why wouldn't you at that point? You might as well release it while you're at it, right? I do hope it's going to be like a pack. I think that would be a lot better, but overall, yeah. And moving on to the next thing about the future of the Switch 2, just the power that the developers are going to be able to play with. So we already know what's available on the Switch 1, how crazy some of the games look. Games like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Astral Chain, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, especially Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I am really curious on what Monolith Soft has cooked up for the Nintendo Switch 2. We know that their games always look jaw-dropping and very detailed and just beautiful to look at. Even Mario Kart World itself looks pretty fantastic. So I'm really curious on how these games are going to be played, what they look like, and overall what they can do, because it's really, really exciting. It's going to be jaw-dropping. We know the Nintendo developers are crazy when it comes to the art style and different things with the Nintendo Switch 2, so I'm really, really curious and excited of the future games that we're going to be seeing. Like, what is the next Legend of Zelda, or the next Mario, or the next new IP, or the next Splatoon? Metroid Prime 4 looks amazing. So what is that going to look like when we see more of that game? It's very exciting to see the developers being able to play with more power and do more with their games. And speaking of doing more, I don't know if you guys caught the Witcher 3 trailer, or not the Witcher 3, Witcher 4 trailer, but that looks jaw-dropping. Now, people who haven't seen like the full stream that was part of, if you did watch it, they talked about what was going into making this world big and beautiful and how it affected the performance. The thing I was thinking of was like, man, I can't wait for developers to use this on the Nintendo Switch 2. What I took away from that is that the performance required to make games look like that is a lot less compared to any other engine that they would use. I do eventually want to do like a separate video on this because I find it very interesting, especially when it comes to just how the world is loading and how they get the textures and all of that great stuff that comes with making a game look and run better. I gotta watch the whole stream because it was pretty interesting, especially there was this one part where they had a live actor doing a live performance, and they were also matching the same movement with a character like in game. It was mocap, but it was live, and it was very, very close to what the actor was doing. So I found that absolutely insane. So I'm really excited to see like what developers are going to do with that, especially when it comes to games that are hitting the Switch 2, because that would more than likely come from third-party developers. So I'm curious on like if all of these games are going to hit the Switch 2 as well. Yeah, overall, I just want to talk about the future of the Nintendo Switch 2, why it's exciting, what I'd like to see, and overall, yeah, just talking about it. With that being said, what would you guys like to see in the future of the Nintendo Switch 2? What games, IPs, new features for the Switch 2? What maybe attachments you would like to see to the Nintendo Switch 2? Like, I would like to see like a second screen if that's even possible, or even just maybe something for the Nintendo DS, have Nintendo DS games added. But yeah, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.